News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Denise Pellegrini. Investors are keeping a very close eye on the U.S. job market and what the government says about it after President Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics after not liking yesterday's report showing a slowdown in U.S. hiring.
I think her numbers were wrong, just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala, I guess Biden/Kamala, and she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected.
Stocks fell sharply in the U.S. after that report, and the deadline passed for countries to have tariff deals with the U.S. New tariffs on imports to the U.S. look to be about 15% on average when they go into effect August 7. Final tariff levels on Chinese goods still up in the air, and President Trump still expected to announce some specific sector tariffs. Beth Hammack, president of the Cleveland Federal Reserve, says the Fed has reason to be worried about inflation.
My expectation, my forecast is that we will see the inflation numbers tick up. The $30 billion a month in tariff revenues is being paid by someone. It looks like it's more being paid by importers and consumers at this point. I think importers have borne a lot of that to this date, and it's likely that that will start to get pushed. We're hearing from the businesses we talk to that they can't absorb those costs anymore, and they will start pushing that out into prices to consumers.
And you can hear more of what Hammack has to say about this very controversial topic on the Bloomberg podcast page on YouTube. The imminent resignation of Fed Governor Adriana Kugler, adding to the uncertainty. She indicated yesterday she was resigning from the Federal Reserve. President Trump telling reporters he's very happy he now has an open spot on the board, and he posted on social media that Fed Chair Jay Powell should follow Kugler's example and resign. He says if he fired Powell, that would disturb the financial markets. Traders yesterday boost bets on Fed rate cuts throughout the day and are now fully pricing in 2 reduction in interest rates this year. Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, has been moved from a federal prison in Florida to a prison camp in Texas as her criminal case generates renewed public attention. The Federal Bureau of Prisons says Maxwell has been transferred to Bryan, Texas, but isn't explaining the circumstances. Maxwell, convicted in 2021 of luring teenage girls to be sexually abused by the convicted sex trafficker, and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. She was being held at a low-security prison in Tallahassee. Her new fellow inmates at the new minimum security prison in Texas include Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes and Jen Shah of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. President Trump says he'll put sanctions on Russia if the August 8th truce deadline to halt the war in Ukraine isn't met. The president also says the U.S. is moving 2 nuclear submarines to respond to highly provocative statements from former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev.
A threat was made by a former president of Russia.
SpaceX Crew 11 mission aboard a Dragon spacecraft has now docked at the International Space Station. Following liftoff from the Kennedy Space Center yesterday, the 4 U.S., Russian, and Japanese astronauts, well, they'll spend at least 6 months at the orbiting lab, swapping places with colleagues up there since March. SpaceX will bring those 4 back home as early as Wednesday. Mountain View, California-based HeartFlow seeking to raise as much as $212 million from an initial public offering in a new trend. More from Bloomberg's Charlie Pellett.
It'll be the 3rd medical technology company to go public in recent weeks. Its platform aims to make coronary artery disease a screenable, diagnosable, and manageable condition by creating a personalized 3D model of a patient's heart and generating data on blood flow and plaque levels. The IPO follows a mixed investor reception to this week's $75 million IPO of shoulder surgery implant maker Shoulder Innovations and last month's $100 million listing of spinal surgery AI software firm Carlsmed. In New York, Charlie Pellett, Bloomberg Radio.
Thank you, Charlie. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Denise Pellegrini. This is Bloomberg.